Ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding to the worship of the Mayor of the Borough of Brentwood, Councillor James Lane, the Deputy Mayor of Brentwood, Councillor Nick Cuthbert, and the Chief Executive, Jonathan Stevenson.
Thank you. Please be seated. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this extraordinary council meeting. Can I ask everyone to note that the fire safety instruction that on hearing the alarm, you should leave the chamber via the double doors at the back, exit the building through the main entrance and congregate in the car park. Also, please switch off your mobile phone and turn any other electronic devices being used to silent. Did you hear my own advice? I'd like to remind everyone present that this meeting is subject to an internet webcast recording where the proceedings are capable of repeated viewing. If you are seated in the public area of the council chamber, it is likely your image will be captured by the recording cameras and result in your image being part of the broadcast. This may infringe on your human rights, and if you wish to avoid this, you should leave the public seating area and in the main body of the council chamber and move to the upper gallery. If members are for any reason not present for the whole debate on an item, you should consider and seek advice as necessary on whether it would be appropriate for you to vote on that item. I would also request that members ensure that they are familiar with the procedure rules concerning points of order, personal explanation and points of information or clarification, which are set out on page 3 of the agenda, and remind them that a proposer of a motion may speak for 5 minutes to introduce the item, the seconder may speak for 3 minutes, which may be reserved, and other speakers for 3 minutes. The proposer has a further 5 minutes to finally sum up before the vote. Could I ask members to please refer to a page number and allow time for us to find it before speaking. Item 1, apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Gorton, Councillor Baldock and Councillor McShane. Are there any others? I think we've got Councillor, there's it. Item 2, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest to be made at this stage? Item 3, local government reorganisation proposals for Greater Essex. Members, I will be lenient with the length of time of speeches this evening, as some of you may wish to speak to all of the options within the report. but I do ask that our speeches are kept relevant to the report. The report begins on page 3 of the supplementary agenda. Mr. Stevenson, do you have anything to add?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Aspinall, would you like to move the recommendations, please? In 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the purposes of the recordings of this momentous council meeting and for the millions watching on the web, I will ask Councillor Rigby to read out the proposal for us and then I will speak to it. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Aspinall. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The recommendation is as follows. That the Council expresses its support for the 5 unitary authority proposal as set out in Appendix A as its preferred option for local government reorganisation, brackets LGR close brackets, in Greater Essex, and that the Leader of the Council be authorised to add the Council's support to the proposal to be submitted to Government by the deadline of 26 November 2025.
Sorry, Councillor Rigby, can you just repeat that? You said the 26th of November.
I'll repeat that, by the deadline of 26 September 2025.
Councillor Aspinall?
Okay? Yeah. Right. This has been a summer of discontent. This has been an awesome journey that I've ever been involved in local government. This summer, most of you had August off. Even the parliamentarians had a recess. Not your leader. Myself and Sue were stuck in that room virtually every day of August. We had a couple of days off, that's it. This has been an exercise of understanding of different people and their views. It's hard enough, as everyone will know, from whichever party you represent, it's hard enough getting agreement within your party. But to get 10 councils, originally 10, to agree on the way forward was something quite awesome. We have been meeting 2-3 times a week throughout since the County Council made their decision to accept the government's offer of local government reorganisation and being put on the priority list. That meant we had to get all the data from all of the councils and the County Council and bring them down to a business case that our officers were going to put together and submit for our perusal this evening and for us to submit to the government. I take this opportunity to thank all of our officers that were involved in that momentous task and pay credit to those other councils for the way this was discussed and debated and argued. It was something else. It really was an exercise in restraint and brilliant oratory. I think it was superb the way it was done, but it was a monumental task for our officers and for our members. We had to look at various options. We had to balance what the government was telling us they wanted in terms of numbers of population per unitary and what we decided was going to be our response in terms of the numbers relating to councillors and those that they represented. We wanted accountability and we wanted localism. We wanted to be able to deliver those services, but we needed to be, as I've said in here before, we needed to be big enough to deliver, but small enough to care. We have now got before you the UA5 options for Essex, and I think this is the right way. I've been arguing it all summer. And I have to say thank you to Councillors Barrett, both of them, at odd times to turn up and assist, and of course Councillor Davis, who's been there quite a bit, with and without me. The proposals that the county were putting down were quite strong, and when we had an Essex leaders and chief executives meeting, even though we were on opposing sides, the debate was held at such a level that it was easy to understand and everyone respected everybody's point of view. It was something different. Also, we took into consideration all the local, the buzzword was disaggregation, I knew I was going to get it wrong, of the county's assets, all of them, where it came into our area, and the staff and the total amount of money that we were talking about, Dalton. You will see that we in Brentwood weren't keen to buddy up with Thurrock. They have a bit of a problem with money at the moment, and they are looking to join up with 3 or 4 of us to spread that load, or spread that debt. And until the government decide what they're going to do about Thurrock's debt, we don't want to know. So that's fine. So the 5 works for us, doesn't work for Thurrock. They want a 4. Rochford have decided to go with a 4 because they do. That's fine, because although we're one team, we are sovereign council. So that's if they want to take that decision tomorrow, they can. They still want to be with us, which is touching, nice, and Chelmsford and Malden. So before you, it is an awful lot of words. There's an awful lot of data in there. In essence, what we've done is to try and join up with those people that we believe we have an affinity with. We have a cultural link, we have a historic link, the A12, we have villages in Tillingham and Bradwell have a lot in common with Blackmore and Stondermassey and other places like that. It's a good fit, and we will have a unitary we will have an authority that stretches from the M25 to the North Sea. I'm happy to answer any questions later, but in essence, that is it. It boils down to this that's before you. I don't think we would like to look, and I know we don't like to look, at the other options of 3. They are monstrous great authorities where I think councillors elected to that authority would struggle to say that they truly represent their residents and understand their residents.
Councillor Russell, I'll give you an extra 2 minutes, so if you could conclude your point, please.
I so propose.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Aspinall. Councillor Davis, would you like to second?
I'd like to second that, Mr. Mayor, and if I may speak now. Mr. Mayor, I support option 5 because it offers residents a real, visible benefit. An option residents can trust, feel listened to, one they can get better representation and hold their elected members to account, taking decision-making closer and more transparent. Our role as councillors is to connect with, listen to and represent our residents. Option 5 maintains a democratic accountability, yet retaining local identity. The formation of unitaries and the loss of Essex County Council, a failing organisation, will cut out duplication and the levels of bureaucracy. Option 5 is financially viable, generating savings, efficiency and gains of 79 million. Children's social care will save 14 million, 10 times more than option three, and larger savings than under 4 and 3. Adult social care will work with realistic numbers that can deliver cheaper services. This option will deliver real benefits for our partners, NHS partners, business and the voluntary sector. Option 5 makes council sustainable and efficient with no duplication, whilst maintaining that local identity and achieving realistic services. Larger unitaries take decision-making away from the people we represent and is financially riskier, and we lose local identity. The 5 unitary option will introduce an enhanced parish council and area committee structure, keeping decision-making closer to the communities. This will maintain democracy that I hope we are signed up to. The reorganisation of local government isn't of our making, but let's get behind a simpler council structure, better placed to coordinate policing, housing and eco-development, yet allowing local accountability. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. We will now open the item to debate. Can I ask if anyone wishes to speak, they vigorously identify themselves. Sometimes Councillor Cuthbert has a little bit of difficulty seeing beyond the sea of people. So in order for you to get your voice gesture vigorously. So, Councillor Russell.
So soon. I haven't even prepared my notes, sorry. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Deputy Mayor. I want to begin by expressing my gratitude to officers and the leader and everyone involved in local government reorganisation process, not just from our authority but from across Essex as well. From the beginning, whilst supportive of a form of devolution, I opposed plans of local government reorganisation as outlined in the current government's white paper. My stance remains unchanged and my conscience will not allow me to vote for anything that breaks up the sovereignty of this borough without a direct mandate from the residents that we serve. The varying information regarding, The very information regarding the advantages of dividing Essex into 5, 4 or 3 unitaries has created a lot of confusion. Beyond the interest of individual political parties, it's challenging to determine what truly serves the best interests of our residents. Whilst reading the various executive summaries, you can see various benefits of each model over another, but the reports combined are opaque. There is no clear sight that can determine what is the best for the borough. I look at the demographics and the debt across the proposed models, and if push comes to shove, I would discount Thurrock's proposal for an alternative of 4 unitary model. I feel we could easily be absorbed by a neighbouring Havering and become part of London. I believe there is a lot of synergy that exists between Rochford and ourselves, and it would be welcome to see them considered in the borough's plans. There is so much uncertainty over what model the government will choose and who will be aligned with. What we do know, and what we have consistently warned about from the onset, is the financial ramifications. They will be significant and the potential payback taking decades. Last week we witnessed public unrest in London, and we're also seeing similar discontent in our community. The public is fed up, and I foresee challenging times ahead if our Remembrance Day parade and our civic office become at risk. The taxpayers of Brentwood could see their money allocated to housing need in neighbouring boroughs instead of being invested in our own community or paying off debts of others. I've yet to receive any guarantees or written policies that would prevent this from happening, but we must seek assurances to protect our civic pride, and I pledge to the leader of this council that I will do all I can to help him in his endeavours to seek those assurances. There is common belief that being part of the discussions is advantageous. However, we still lack clarity on specifics and the potential cost that local government reform will impose on our borough. Based on what we do know, I cannot identify any benefits of local government reform that outweigh the potential harm it could cause. Therefore, I must express my opposition to the recommendations presented tonight. The government will deliberate over the model and which model is best for Essex. And when the unitaries are formed, I hope that many of our councillors that are here today across the chamber will make up part of these new councils, because there is a lot of people here that care for our community, and I care less what banner they march under. Mr. Mayor, I'm not one to flip-flop on decisions I make, and I stand by my decisions and the arguments I put in February's extraordinary council meeting. I can honestly say I cannot see a better model, one better model over another. I can only recognise that Thurrock's model is by far the worst, and whether it is a 3, 4 or 5, it is clear there is a desire from councillors in this chamber that I have spoken to, that we are part of a centrally located unitary that is horizontally located across Essex. Mr. Mayor, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councillor Russell. Councillor Dr. Merritt. Russell?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm focusing on the positive of the proposal today. As chair of the committee responsible for communities, housing and leisure, I understand the importance of providing residents not only just with a roof over their heads, but also the opportunity to live in the community that meets their needs and aspirations. The creation of a Mid-Essex Council, bringing together Brentwood, Chelmsford and Malden, will give us the housing scale to offer that choice. It's not about building more for the sake of it, it's about providing social tenants and our residents with the flexibility to move within the same authority to suit their lifestyle. Whether that is downsizing to the coast, finding a rural home, or moving closer to the town, or indeed city, for work, education or family support. All while keeping the same landlord, the same standards and the same continuality of care. It will also give us greater opportunities to build more social housing, using brownfield sites from Essex County Council land, Chelmsford land, Malden land and our own, all led by our housing team here in Brentwood, the best in the county. Both, actually. Yes. This means more affordable homes in better locations with more choice for our residents and, crucially, getting our housing waiting lists down. It's not all about housing. With one coordinated authority, we could link homes to parks, leisure centres, sports facilities and green spaces that make neighbourhoods thrive. We could plan wherever you live in Mid-Essex, you have access to the facilities that support health, well-being and community life. But under our current fragmented system, the coordination simply is not there. And when it is missing, we lose a value when we lose opportunities. Take Bishop Hill in Hutton. Essex County Council has recently ended its community use. Had we had one authority with the responsibility for both community assets and local services, we could have made sure this never happened. With early engagement, we could have explored alternatives and keep it open for many groups that rely on it. Instead, the decision to clear it out has made any future reinstatement much more difficult. Brentwood has now listed Bishop's Hill as an asset of community value. But at that moment, we are stuck between a county council too large to understand the local importance of such a facility and a borough council sometimes too small to act to protect it. This is precisely why the 5-unity proposal is the best option. A Mid-Essex Council which would mean joined-up decision-making with housing, leisure and community facilities planned together, not in isolation. We would invest in our homes, invest in our spaces and our services that make homes part of the community. And it would mean that facilities like Bishop's Hill are protected and enhanced, not lost. Councillors, this is about more than governance, it's about keeping value in our communities, not losing it through disjointed decision-making. It's about giving residents the freedom of choice of lifestyle that works for them, while knowing the council is still their council. We are elected and accountable to make tough decisions for our residents. choosing the best option out of the proposals here tonight, not to remove ourselves by abstaining. I urge you to support the 5 unitary authority proposal and the creation of a Mid-Essex Council as the best viable option for protecting our community, enhancing our leisure offer and giving real housing choice for the people we serve. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Dr. Barrett. Councillor Hurst.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr Mayor, and thank you to those who have already spoken. It's obviously a really big decision, this, because it's actually about the future of the council of which we are a part and the representation of the residents in our borough. So, not to take it lightly, but I think there's been some really extraordinarily good work done over the last few months. I'm not sure that, even as a financial analyst of some competence, I've managed to weave my way through it in a way that convinces me that one financial model is better than another. There are different aspects of them which are being put forward. But I think some real truth has come out of this. It's clear to me that whilst I've never had a resident say, I want local government reform, I have persistently had residents say, why on earth do I have to talk to 2 different or 3 different people about different aspects of getting the same thing done? The pavements, the roads, why are they separate, etc.? Keeping the streets clean, not the same as repairing them. Don't get it. So there is something there about going unitary. And I think I reflected back in February, didn't I, about the fact that my father back in 1972 threw his papers when he came in to tea that day on the tea table and said, I don't know why they're doing this. Why aren't they just going for a single council across the piece? So there were those in 1972 who thought that the two-tier system was perhaps flawed. I always had a great respect for my father. The reality is that we can do this in a way that provides better services to our residents. Like Councillor Russell, I really don't want to see civic pride go. One of the things which I know in my other role is real social glue that keeps people safe and keeps people working together and keeps our community thriving is the role of the mayor, the role of the deputy mayor. The fact that we have got people who support charities out there, the fact that we have got things like Remembrance Day, they really matter. So however we play this, I think we need to make sure we do not lose those. And we don't lose them for Brentwood. Now that may mean that we need to think about the parish town council level, and that's something I'd really like us to be spending time on. But for the provision of services, I'd really like to see us go unitary. And what's clearly come out of the work is that it's not 1, it's not 2, they don't really work because they're too remote, and it's not 6, it's not 7 because they don't really work because they're too expensive. So it's 3, 4 or 5. I'd have no trouble supporting this recommendation if it didn't have the words in as its preferred option. I really would like to support 5, but actually on balance I probably should turn to Rochford tomorrow night, because I think on balance I probably prefer the Rochford 4. It looks to me as though it makes a bit more sense. I really don't like the Thurrock structure. I don't think they've been thinking there about community or economic growth or economic corridors or cohesion. I think they've been thinking about their balance sheet problems. And what I'm sure about is finance here cannot be the sole driver. This has to be about quality of service to our residents. If you look at the difference between the 3, 4, 5s that we have on the table, actually you're talking about maybe 1% of the total budget of all of the councils in Essex being the difference between those. It's not enough to be the decisive factor. The decisive factor has to be, how do we deliver best? And I think some of the things that have come out as well are about the shape of some core communities. Okay, pretty much everybody says that Tendring, Colchester and Braintree belong together. Also, pretty much everybody except Thurrock says that Brentwood, Chelmsford and Malden belong together. I really believe that. I will support a 3, 4, 5 option that puts us in that community with Chelmsford and Malden. I won't support one that doesn't. And I think, can I ask as well that when we get to the vote here, it would be really important that we, well, perhaps it's better to say in the minutes, I'd really like the minutes to reflect the fact that that voting in favour of this, I'm not voting in favour of 5, I'm voting in favour of being in a group with Chelmsford and Malden. And I'd quite like Rochford to be in there as well. And I've got nothing against Epping and Harlow. But Chelmsford, Chelmsford, Brentwood and Malden really matters. I don't mind if we get paired with some extra people as well. I do think there is a balance between being accountable locally and having efficiencies and being able to deliver services across the piece. I am concerned about what Councillor Spence says about the difficulties of delivering adult and children's social services on a 5 model. I'm also concerned about delivering planning on a 3 model. Yeah, there are pros and cons to each of those. On balance, I think I really would prefer the option of the 4 model recommended by Rochford, so I better get up there and vote for that instead, although I'm not a member there, can't do that. But I think on balance, because this does include the Brentwood Chelmsford Malden piece, I will end up supporting the proposal this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hurst. Councillor Kendall.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's just start by thanking Councillors Aspinall, Davis and the 2 Councillor Barretts and our officers for the time they put into attending countless LGR meetings. The leader has told all of us on this side of the chamber how many meetings he's been to. We've been through it many, many times. And I know it's been a long and at times frustrating journey, but they have done a good job on our behalf. And I think we should all cross chamber be grateful for the time they've put in, because it's been quite a job. Particularly also making sure they're fighting Brentwood's corner all the time. That's been their fundamental aim, to make sure our residents were represented. As chair of the Finance and Resources Committee, I wanted to touch on the financial side of LGR. I see that one of the government's key aims of LGR is financial stability. They say they want to restructure local government to help it manage funding constraints and achieve long-term stability. That's their words, not mine. If that is the case, then anyone looking at our finances would say to the government, leave Brentwood well alone and let them carry on with their finances as they are. Sadly, that isn't an option before us tonight. The Joint Administration and our excellent finance team have turned this council's finances round since we took control of the council. You can see that the proof is in the pudding. One of the key reasons for our strong financial position has been some decisions that have been made, and the purchase and sale of Childerditch is certainly one of them. The decision to purchase Childerditch was made by the previous administration with our unanimous support, but the decision to sell it was made by the Joint Administration and most of the members opposite, with a few members telling us we were making a bad move. Fortunately, we made a very good decision to sell it, because the profit we have made and the excellent investment work done by our finance team has put us in a strong financial position. An example of this is the fact that our overall council's general fund debt has reduced by 44.2 million. I'll repeat that again, 44.2 million. We've gone down from 179 million, 31st of March, to 135 million as at the 30th of June. That is good news for this council. I am concerned that linking up with any other authorities could work against us financially, but I accept that we have to move to a unitary authority. Looking at all the options, I believe that the 5 unitary model is the best one for us, which would see us link up with Chelmsford and Malden. As Councillor Davis has said, it keeps us as close as we can to our community, and out of all the options, I think the finances stack up the best. Having been an Essex County Councillor in the past for 12 years, I saw firsthand how they operated, and I can understand why so many residents are now delighted they are disappearing. Whatever happens going forward, the people of Essex deserve better. When we move to the unitary model, there are definite benefits for our residents of having one council controlling all the services, as has been alluded to by Councillor Hurst. It's a great frustration when you knock on a resident's door, who covers what, who's responsible for what. And getting hold of that person, particularly in the ward that I represent, which is covered by Brentwood South, has been an absolute nightmare for the last 4 years. So I share their frustration. Adult social care and special educational needs, and both services are going to need significant funding to deliver what residents need. And I have to say, I'm not convinced that any of the financial models I've seen fully have grasped that challenge we face. We also have some councils carrying major amounts of debt, such as Thurrock and Basildon. Are the government going to step in and clear that debt? It'll be interesting to see what happens. The financial figures put together by Grant Thornton seem to be realistic and viable for the 5 unitary option. However, as I've said, I do have concerns whether any of the options on the table can really produce the savings that the government say are going to be made. Going forward, the aim of the joint administration will be to deliver our finances in the best shape we can to whatever unitary option the government tells us we're having. I hope that when the government makes that decision, they go for the option of 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kendall. I'd just like to remind councillors that whilst I am offering a degree of latitude on the timing, that they remain close to the subject of local government reorganisation. So, Councillor Slade.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. While we knew devolution and restructure were coming, Essex joining the devolution priority programme was unnecessary, and Brentwood did not have a say in initiating. The result? We are managing a rushed, imperfect approach. While the model proposed, I believe, is the best available in the devolution priority programme context, it is far from what we could call, it's far from all we could want. Having to use existing districts and boroughs as building blocks misses how some villages, towns and communities have grown across borders. But no model can recognise that completely. I hope that whatever comes, there will be a full and proper boundary review of all new unitaries, taking the time to see how what parishes, villages and towns should actually move. Where key employment can match with key residential that supports them. However, we are also a decision-making body. We are here tonight as elected representatives to make a decision. So with the options that do exist in this rush programme, I am of the opinion that this is the best option available for our residents.
Thank you, Councillor Slade. Councillor Rigby.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I personally believe the proposal for 5 new unitary councils is the most balanced, effective and forward-looking option. Since last February, Labour's proposed reorganisation of local authorities have led Councillor Aspinall on a mission to meet regularly with his compatriots with one thing in mind, to decide the best option for Brentwood. After a rigorous and weighty proposal, the 5 unitary authority model is the front runner. It meets all 6 of the government's criteria for local government reorganisation, from forming a single tier of governance to enabling stronger community engagement. We, on this side, support a proposal for 5 unitary councils, with Brentwood joining Chelmsford and Malden. The Labour government, now with a new Secretary of State, proposes that new unitary authorities should now manage all your local services. Most Essex Council leaders support this approach, including some of our most experienced councillors in this council, thanks to Councillor Aspinall and Councillor Davies. I'm not particularly keen on Essex's plan to merge Brentwood with Harlow, Epping Forest, Chelmsford and Malden into our M11 mega council, and I'm really not keen on Thurrock's plans to merge Brentwood with Epping and Harlow, and it strikes me that across the chamber that feeling is pretty much shared. Now why 5? Because it strikes the right balance between scale and identity. Each council is sized to deliver efficient services while remaining close to the communities it serves. Unlike the larger models, which are potentially a bit remote and unwieldy, the 5 council model preserves local voice, civic pride and democratic accountability. That last part is important. It also, I believe, as Councillor Kendall has said, offers the greatest long-term financial sustainability. Now, there's been a lot of collaboration and public support on this, as well as consultation. Over 7,000 residents were consulted, and their message was clear. They want councils that reflect their communities and understand their needs. This model is rooted in a simple truth that my party believes. Local government works best when it is close to the people it serves. By replacing the current two-tier system with 5 new councils, we create a structure that is more efficient, more accountable and more responsive to local needs. Each council will be the right size, large enough to deliver high-quality services and withstand financial pressures, small enough to preserve our local identity and ensure democratic representation. There will, of course, be changes in leadership and structure. Each council will have a cabinet-led structure, with councillors empowered to lead on local priorities. This will be a considerable change for this council, and one that not all will welcome, including some of my colleagues. But it has worked well for our friends in Chelmsford, and it can work well for us as well. With new councils will come new structures and new leadership. This 5-unitary council also strengthens community safety partnerships across Essex. It will align councils with existing geographic and service boundaries and enhance coordination amongst the police, health service and local authorities. Smaller, place-based councils allow for faster decision-making and more transparent accountability, which is critical for responding to local safety concerns. It supports the better integration of services, enabling CSPs to work seamlessly across housing, youth services and public health. In short, the 5-unitary authority model is not just a change in structure. Potentially, it's a bold step towards a better future for Essex. It's good for Brentwood. It's good for Hutton. It's good for Hutton East. In short, the only way is Essex, mid-Essex.
Thank you, Councillor Rigby. Councillor Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. Listening to what all the other members have said or are going to say, I think I would not go into the details of the 5-3 or whatever permutation you want. This is my own personal views on it, and I feel quite strongly about it. I would like to thank the members and the officers for producing an excellent report that sets out the benefits that can be achieved. So I believe the report gave good reasons for devolution. However, I also believe it is an end product that not many members in this chamber want. It is like turkeys voting for an early Christmas. As I am personally against the loss of Brentwood's sovereignty, I cannot support the recommendation. The loss of the common touch to our residents is a factor I cannot support. I have no faith in the government accepting what we would look at as the best option. I accept good work has taken place to reach the recommendation, and I will not be able to support it. I will go as far as to say that it's the best for us with the Malden and Chelmsford. I think the fourth will be the fourth option will be the one that goes through, and unfortunately it's either across 4 or down 4, and we must be very concerned about what that will bring for Brentwood, because one of those options I don't believe is very good, and as I say, it's a personal thing as far as I'm concerned. I don't believe we should lose Brentwood, which is what we're going to do. We're going to end up with a unitary that loses the common touch, and though I accept the work that's gone forward to bring out the fifth option, or the 5 option, whichever way you like to put it, I need to make a stand and say I don't wish to go down that road, though I know we are going down that road. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Councillor Minor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, it's very interesting to hear what other councillors are saying, and I actually, I'm struck by the fact that I can quite happily agree with some of the things that Councillor Russell has said, Councillor Hurst has said, and Councillor Parker has said, which is not something that can be said often in this council chamber. The concerns about the sovereignty of the borough, the concerns about the loss of the common touch, and the loss of the borough identity, I absolutely share those, and I think, you know, cross-party, most people in this chamber would share those concerns. On the borough level, what we've got, the fact that we are representing our local residents and the borough is the size it is and we have the wards that we do, is an excellent situation to be in, because we've got proximity to our residents, they've got proximity to us, and you can genuinely feel that you represent people because you know them, you can walk to their houses, you live close to them. That's an excellent situation to be in. I also thought that Councillor Hurst's point about finance here not being the sole driver is an extremely good point. We've got enormous amounts of financial information which have been provided to us, but you know, different people are coming to different conclusions, and the differences between those different models, it's not huge. The more important points are elsewhere, and the more important points have to do with things like democracy and local representation. So, as I say, on the borough level, the way Brentwood works is excellent, and we can stand up for our residents. We have issues with Essex. We've had issues with Essex for a long while, so there's an issue there. The other point here is we do have to start, and we have to make a decision now from where we are. We know where we are. We're being presented with a future which we don't have complete control over, but we have to decide what the best option is, given that we are being presented that. And we're also being told, doesn't matter whether we don't like any of those options, we won't escape from that process. So it's better for us to make a clear statement to people as to what we would like to see out of the options that are in front of us, rather than trying to sit on the fence. I think one of the things that's very striking about this report is the simple fact that the majority of local authorities in Essex, cross-party, different leaderships, have gone for one option, which is the same option that Brentwood is talking about. And I think that in itself obviously meets the government's criterion for, and I think that's a very strong argument. I also think that in terms of things like planning, what's been said on page 33 of the report in the conclusion to the options appraisal is very good, because on the one hand it's talking about the need on the mayoral level to be able to go forward in terms of joined up regional planning, which is something that's essential, and you need to have that strategic perspective and that regional level. But the 5 unitary authority option gives you tailored place-based delivery. Planning is one of those services which needs to be as local as possible, because you need to have a local understanding, you need to have an understanding of planning technicalities. But if you know an area, you can represent an area and you can understand an area, and you've got a kind of expertise and an understanding and a way of representing which comes from knowing that area. If you're talking about something a long way away which you don't know, where you've never been, doesn't matter how much of the technicalities you know, you'll be groping. You won't understand it. So planning is a service which needs to be kept on a local level. This gives us the best option out of the options which are in front of us, the 5 unitary option. So that it's a positive for me, but as I say, I absolutely agree with some of the points that have been made about the process as a whole. I would rather we weren't being forced into this, and I would rather we could carry on as Brentwood, because I think we're doing a good job, and that's not about being on the administration at this point. This borough works well. It's got excellent qualities, and we need to defend them.
Thank you, Councillor Minor. Councillor Barber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's quite a complex subject in that you can see it from, if you were setting up again now from start, you would probably say one councillor should represent all aspects of service delivery to our residents. But there has been a long history of having a district, county, combined model that has delivered in many, many services very successfully over many years, irrespective of political party. The sizing of your planning authority should be smaller to make it more accountable, so that people are making decisions about the areas that they understand and they know about. Other services, I would suggest, like education, have been very well run at county level, and we have very high standards in the borough as a result. So we ought to acknowledge that as well. So, yes, the simplicity of having one councillor to go to for everything is fine, but also remember that this means this councillor, or 3 councillors in a particular area, will be representing a much larger area with far more people than currently we have. So that load is, and I don't know how much time a lot of councillors have, particularly those that work, they may struggle already to cope with the volume and demands from some of their residents in terms of giving assistance. So it's not one perspective for everything. What I would say is that I think that the negatives of local government reform are that it makes government less local. And I also think if we look at some of the things that were very emotive across this chamber between the different parties, we had debates about a cellar and whether we were going to lose the Brentwood sovereignty. Well, I think you can wave goodbye to this chamber with what you're proposing. And the town hall, that was a big thing that lots of people had a lot of emotions about retaining. And it's going to be in Chelmsford now. All the action's going to be there. All the decision-making is going to be in Chelmsford with this transition. You have to bear that in mind. I don't believe necessarily that it's logical for a 5-unitary model to save more money than a 3. If you think about it just in pure economical terms, you would expect the one that was run at a greater scale to be able to be run more efficiently. Having 5 council chambers, having 5 chief executives, with great respect, and 5 lots of senior officers per council sounds more expensive than having 3. If you're just looking at it in terms of pounds, shillings and pence, ultimately the government minister is going to decide this, and obviously there will be a majority to pass this tonight. That's absolutely obvious. But the real question is, do our residents really want it? And I have never been asked for this by any resident on the doorstep, and we speak to an awful lot all of the time. And the ones I did ask, I asked about 12 of the people I knew across the borough today, different backgrounds, not all Conservatives, and I said, how do you feel about it? And only 2 of the 12 came back and said, in theory, they thought it might be able to save money, and the other 10 were basically disinclined to go down that route because of the disadvantages that may occur. I think there will be huge costs for redundancy payments, huge costs for recruitment fees. I think that we will stall and delay on delivery of large projects like the regeneration of our town centre, like the strategic housing. I think all of those things will be pushed back. And I think we should have left it into, we're obliged to review the local government reform process as part of the introduction of devolution. And I'm not against necessarily having a mayor. But what we could have done is we could have said we want the status quo for a couple of years, let the mayoralty bed in, and then, and I'm just saying what I think, Councillor, yeah, that we all have to put forward our own views. And then we could have actually done it from a more informed base, because the recommendations from a consultant that we engage with, or the districts engage with, comes up with a recommendation that supports our preference. I mean, what a surprise. Anyone who's worked in banking knows that the consultants always make the report say what you want at the end of the process. County's got a conflicting set of numbers, and who really in this room is expert enough to know, apart from Baby David, a couple of people maybe would be able to pull it together and say that one's wrong because. But what I would say is the average public won't have a clue which is the better option, and I hope that whatever happens, we have a better service for our residents, because at the end of the day, that's the only reason that we're here. So I will vote against because, and I also, just final point, why we're not actually looking at a proposal with Rochford involved, given the partnership that we have and the connectivity in terms of officers being employed by both those districts at the moment, is beyond me. The 5 doesn't seem sensible for Brentwood specifically and Rochford. Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barber. Councillor Lewis.
Thank you. 2 introductory comments and then a further 2 comments. So the introductory comments were thank you to Barry, the officers and everyone else involved in putting these proposals together and analysing them. It's a tough piece of work and thank you. Secondly, what comes across in this debate is the love for Brentwood, and I'm very glad to be amongst those numbers. It's something that the reason why we're all here working hard for the residents of Brentwood. In terms of the comments, in terms of serving my residents, it seems to me rather clear that a larger number of organisations, unitary authorities is better in order that we can be closer to them, and I think others have said the same. The other comment that I will make is that it strikes me over the next generation that for local authorities to survive, the key is the costs of social care, and everything else to some extent pales into insignificance. The numbers that I've seen, of course, I too have a great scepticism of consultants' numbers, and I don't believe you can really analyse in that much detail for a generation going forward. But nevertheless, I can buy some of the arguments that are made about the cost efficiencies of social care. The numbers are huge in terms of overall costs of social care, and the numbers that are being suggested about the differences in terms of the models are actually not immaterial, and I think that's a really important thing, because social care in the next generation is going to be absolutely critical for the survival of local government. So for that reason, actually, I will vote for the 5 unitary authorities.
Thank you, councillors. Councillor Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's worth first acknowledging that those of us involved in this process, there's actually quite a traumatic element to this. Those who put decades into local authorities to actually then be part of a process that sees potentially the end of that authority isn't easy, isn't nice, and it potentially wasn't something any of us planned to be part of. And I think being part of the devolution priority programme has certainly, because of that, been a challenge, and it wasn't something we asked for. But at the same time, what you learn from this is that it's also been quite a privilege in getting to meet so many fellow councillors and officers of different parties, all of whom have genuinely been determined to do the best for their communities. And I really want to state my appreciation for everyone involved in this, councillors, different parties, our partners in Rochford who have come up with their own proposal, while I do not believe it works for us because of democratic accountability, and I'll go into that in a second, and a few other features. It's been good to see them partners, and also to say nice things about our police commissioner, who has been involved in this process, been open, has been genuine positive influence in it for that. And I say this in the context of this chamber, given things that are happening and future elections next year. For a Conservative Police and Fire and Crime Commissioner, he has been exceptional in the role, so thank you. And I think some of the news that's been going on, the negative publicity against you personally, has been grossly unfair and inappropriate. But the proposal we have before us to create 5 new unitary authorities of Greater Essex is a combination of work of those individuals, that many people of that much passion. It's built on 3 pillars: local accountability, efficient service delivery, and a strong sense of place. Firstly, local accountability. Under this model, Brentwood would have 19 councillors, each representing around 3,000 residents. The other models will leave us with 12 councillors, 5,000 to 6,500 residents per councillor. More councillors does mean closer connections, a deeper understanding of local needs, and a stronger line of accountability to people who elect us. The points some of the members have made of different schemes and different advantages, this for me is a really key advantage of this proposal. And those of us who wanted that identity, wanted us, as many of us, to remain as possible, this has the greatest opportunity for that to happen, and the greatest window of opportunity to represent Brentwood the most effectively. And in turn, actually, this is something that Brentwood specifically fought for. Councillor Davis first raised it and targeted it, but this came from debates in this chamber saying we want as many councillors represented as possible for Brentwood. Secondly, better services. This is not just about efficiency for its own sake. It's about high quality, sustainable public services aligned with the economic geographies and service footprints that already exist. This will mean smoother transitions, reduced risks, and a stronger foundation for transformation. It will modernise, cut duplication, and build councils around the communities they serve, so Brentwood and all of Greater Essex can thrive for generations to come. Thirdly, stronger communities. Councils centred on recognised communities can foster civic pride and belonging, and we must maintain this. One way this proposal looks to do this is through area committees that give significant influence in the boundaries of the current borough of Brentwood, while creating, in turn, new ways to engage parish and future town councils in that process. It looks to re-democratise and devolve down to that level. These committees can protect and should protect local identity, giving residents a more direct voice in shaping services and strengthen the link between councillors and the communities they represent, and in turn find devices to protect our civic history and our civic pride. Our historic buildings, green spaces, community halls can be better used to serve residents. Services can be tailored to local needs, partnerships with voluntary groups strengthened, and growth made inclusive. This is about tackling social isolation, supporting mental health and promoting cohesion. It's about using our heritage and local economies to create jobs and opportunities that directly benefit residents. This proposal also removes the artificial barriers between borough and county services, no more fragmented responsibility for roads, waste and environmental health. Instead, we have the opportunity for a more joined up, integrated approach that optimises resources, reduces duplication, and delivers services in a way that feels seamless to the public. The evidence for me is clear. This model offers the best balance available between scale and local identity. It delivers the highest projected savings of all the options. It carries lower transition risks, and it's the broadest support from councils across Greater Essex and across parties. Colleagues, this is our opportunity to shape the future of local government so that it remains, as far as we can make it, local, genuinely accountable and fit for the decades ahead. I ask we choose a model that works for their communities, not just for them, and it's to build a structure that can deliver for today and for the next generation. The proposal for Mid-Essex describes the future themes as steeped in heritage, innovation and natural beauty. Could describe this chamber. But in many ways, it for me describes a place I want to be and I want to live, an ambition for what we want for our community. And having that ambition within the proposal, that strategy, that goal for me is essential in looking for what we're trying to achieve in the future. This may not be the journey we wanted to take, but if we are taking it, we do it in the right direction to the best of our ability for the best possible outcome for our residents. I urge you to support the 5 unitary proposal for local government reform as the best, most viable model for our residents, for our borough and for our shared future. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barrett. Councillor Worsfold.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I don't want to repeat anything that's already been said because there's been a lot of consensus and a lot of common sense. But I do want to pick up on a couple of points. One that was started raised by Councillor Barber and just touched on by Councillor Barrett, which is the role of councillors and the potential workload that could be placed on councillors in a unitary authority. As I think most people here know, that I have experience of being on a unitary authority, having been a councillor in a London borough for a number of years. Part of that time when there wasn't even a strategic authority for London because the Thatcher government had gone and abolished the Greater London Council and nothing new had been put in its place. And that, as a councillor, it's a double-edged sword. It has the advantage that, yes, you are part of an authority that does everything. If someone comes to you to talk about a problem that crosses housing, social services and education, that's your authority. And you can find an officer that can deal with it. But the other side of that sword is the expectation that's placed on you as a councillor. And my fear is that if we go down the route of having 3 very large unitary authorities, the ratio of residents to councillors will be far too large. The expectation that falls on our shoulders will be very, very heavy and very hard, as Councillor Barber made the point very eloquently, for those in full-time employment to meet. That's one of the reasons why I favour, look, this is a I wouldn't start from here debate, isn't it, in many ways, but it's one reason why I favour the option of 5, because I think it gives us a much better ratio of councillors to residents. The other point, which I think we also need to bear in mind and we need to put on our agenda, and it's been referenced tonight, is getting on with fixing the democratic deficit that would yawn large if we don't parish the rest of the borough. Whether that means creating one town council for Brentwood, whether we have a Brentwood Parish Council, a Shenfield and Hutton one, that's a debate for the future. The principle has to be established, and we have to get on with it, that we must parish the rest of the borough, because that does 2 things. Firstly, it enables us to retain those civic symbols that we know are so important to our residents. We know people value the mayor. We know people value all the great civic occasions, particularly the Remembrance Parade, that are so much part of life in Brentwood. It will enable us to retain those and own them. Options of having a few councillors in a unitary authority voting on who might be a mayor of Brentwood do not appeal to me. People that represent the citizens of Brentwood should vote on who is the mayor of Brentwood. And so I think that's important. Also, that helps address the other problem that I referred to, which is the potential workload placed on councillors. If you have a team of parish or town councillors around you as well, you've got people you can share the workload with. So for those two reasons, I'd absolutely urge that whatever we vote on tonight, wherever this goes when it gets to the right desk in Whitehall, and whatever decision is made, we get on with fixing that democratic deficit. Chelmsford have the same problem. They have rural parishes and a great hole in the middle. They're getting on with it. Malden is fully parish. If we ended up being partnered with Rochford, Rochford is already fully parish. We can't go into a new setup with Brentwood having a democratic hole at its heart. So I do urge that we get on with that, whatever the vote is tonight, whatever the decision in Whitehall is in a few months' time.
Thank you, Councillor Horsford. I have no further people indicating they wish to speak. So move back to Councillor Aspinall, if you can sum up, please.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, colleagues from both sides of the chamber. Excellent debate, excellent points of view being put forward. I totally agree with Councillor Parker. Please note the time and date.
I've got the date.
Okay. I would love to be able to say no, because I've put 2/3 of my life into this chamber. I would love to say no, but I'm in a position of authority here where I haven't got that luxury. And I need to do the best for the people of Brentwood, the town that we've represented those years. Yes, work starts straight away, Councillor Worsfold. It already has with the parishing. That's gone to housing and health and communities already. We're looking at that. Our work will start in earnest as soon as that minister makes the judgment on where we're going to end up, because we then need to understand how we're going to operate, not just as a unitary made up of politicians, but how is that service delivery going to happen? Councillor Barbara, I will take issue. This town, this building's not going anywhere. There's so many of us in this chamber that fought long and hard to retain it when it was threatened last time. It's not going anywhere while I'm still leader or whilst we've got any influence in that role. Parishing and a town council will sort that issue out of being able to retain this building. We're still going to need officers of the amount we've got throughout Essex to carry out the services that we're currently got, let alone any more that's going to be introduced, and there's going to be more work going around. So we're going to need to have them located sensibly, not one 40 odd miles away, Bradwell, and not here. It needs to be a central bit, yes, but also we can look at both ends of the seesaw, if that's the way we go on the 5, because that is needed locally for both of those, for all three of the districts involved. So, yes, the work will start in earnest, and I don't expect any early nights before, after next February or March when the decision comes. And Councillor Barber, I agree with you, we didn't need to start now. We could have waited, but Essex County Council took the option to vote for it to be on the priority list. I argued against that. A lot of councillors in the County Hall argued against that. I wanted to see the effects on Kent. We know what it is. We know what the effects are having on Kent already. So it will be interesting to see what the government does with Surrey's submission, because Woking's in there with a Thurrock type debt. So we'll get some lessons learned on that. And we will take it to the vote, Mr. Mayor. I think it's been an excellent debate, and I thank everyone that contributed to it.
Thank you, Councillor Aspinall. We now move to the vote on the recommendations on page 4 of the supplementary agenda. That the Council expresses its support for a 5-unitary authority proposal, as set out in Appendix A, as its preferred option for local government reorganisation, LGR, in Greater Essex.
So, Mr. Mayor, is it possible to have a recorded vote, as this is such a momentous...
Certainly. Have you got 5 people who will support?
You're right in big flow there, so.
Yeah, you got those, yeah? Right, I'll start again with the recommendation that the Council expresses its support for a 5-unitary authority proposal as set out in Appendix A as its preferred option for local government reorganisation, LGR, in Greater Essex, and that the Leader of the Council is authorised to add the Council support to the proposal to be submitted to the Government by the deadline of the 26th of September 2025.
Thank you, Chair. Mayor. Would members please indicate for or against the motion when their name is called? Councillor LaPlane.
For.
Councillor M. Cuthbert.
For.
Councillor Aspinall.
For.
Councillor Barber.
Against.
Councillor G. Barrett.
For.
Councillor Dr. Barrett.
For.
Councillor Chinnery.
For.
Councillor Cloak. Councillor M. Cuthbert.
For.
Councillor Davies. For. Councillor Fulcher. For. Councillor Gelderbloom.
Against.
Councillor Gibson.
Abstain.
Councillor Gordon.
Against.
Councillor Haigh.
For.
Councillor Hurst.
For.
Councillor Gerard. For. Councillor Kendall.
For.
Councillor Lewis.
For.
Councillor Marsh.
For.
Councillor Mayo.
For.
Councillor Murphy.
For.
Councillor Minot.
For.
Councillor Naylor.
For.
Councillor Parker.
Against.
Councillor Patel.
Abstain.
Councillor Poppy.
Abstain.
Councillor Pound.
For.
Councillor Rigby.
For.
Councillor Russell.
Against.
Councillor Sankey.
For.
Councillor Slade. Councillor Sunger.
Against.
Councillor Wagland.
Abstain.
And Councillor Worsfold.
For.
Thank you. That's not on. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's 25 for, 6 against and 4 abstentions. So the motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. There are no more items of business for this evening, so I can now close the meeting. Thank you, everyone.